Formula One experiments with its weekend format at Imola. The Racing Point protest drama continues for at least another day, and we discuss the elbow bump around the F1 paddock. Let's jump the start.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back. Jump to Start Racing podcast. This is your host, Wellington. I'm here with two of my closest friends. Yhancy, hello.
Hello.
Ruben, say hi.
What's going on, guys? I think Wellington's asleep today. Come on, wake up.
No, I'm good. Just kind of easing
doing
in
some.
Is the chair that he got today?
He's doing some ASMR.
Is it the chair he got today?
I think, yeah, he's probably gonna fall asleep while talking. You guys obviously can't see us, but he's like laid back. All he needs is like an ottoman to put his feet
Come
on.
on, say it. We're sitting in my office. We're sitting in my dad's chair, and it's mighty comfy.
It is a designated sleeping chair. I'm feeling it. No, I'm kidding.
Welcome back, Wells.
Yeah, exactly. So thank you guys for joining us again. Before moving forward, I just kind of want to, I feel like I always forget to do this, but I just want to point out we are on Instagram at Jump to Start Racing, on Twitter, JTSR Podcast, and our website is jumptostartracing.com, www.jumptostartracing.com. So if you guys could drop us a like, a comment, subscribe, be much appreciated. I'm going to move on to the news.
Wait. And you could hear us on every platform.
Yes, absolutely. Apple, Apple, Spotify, Google Podcasts, iHeart Radio, Stitcher, TuneIn, and I think even on the Podbean app.
There you go.
All right, so news. One of the things that's been confirmed, Imola as a track that formerly hosted the San Marino Grand Prix, it had previously been confirmed, but here today, F1 had confirmed that it would actually be a 2-day event instead of 3, meaning there'll be one 90-minute practice session before qualifying on Saturday. It'll be on Saturday, straight to qualifying, and then to the race. And the race itself will start 2 hours earlier. Reason for that is that it's later on in the year, it's in Italy, and they're afraid of potential weather coming on later on in the day.
It'll be too cold. Is that
just too wet?
Oh, got you. Okay.
So, and then beyond that, shrinking it to a 2-day event because they're traveling from Portugal the week before across, I guess, overland, and it's a 1,500-mile trip, and they wanted to give the crews a little bit of a break.
Okay.
Ruben, what do you think of this announcement, and does it set kind of like a precedent moving forward such that maybe we'll have more? Because, I mean, to be honest, there's a lot of these tracks that the practice may not even be necessary. The tracks that the guys are on all the time. For example, Barcelona. Why would they need to keep practicing there? But what do you think this means going forward, if anything?
I think that trying this out in Imola is a testing ground for it. Because remember, this was already in play that they wanted to do it. So if it works, it's good to see it. The 2-day or the 2-day event thing, it's good to see it without having just to push it out because of weather or whatever. So being that's going to be part of it could be good, could be work. We have to get it. We have to wait and see. But like always, I'm always excited. It's Formula One. We have to make changes all the time.
Think it'll be better or worse?
As long as we got 2-day events, if they lower the ticket price, it'll be better.
Yeah. Oh, you're just thinking about yourself.
Of course.
Yeah. Yhancy, what do you think? Do you think that this will be a problem safety-wise? This track in particular, it makes me nervous because of the history that it has there. We mentioned it 2 episodes ago. This is the site of essentially the passing of Ayrton Senna, a legendary driver. Do you think that it could potentially be a problem?
No, I don't think so. I think that they looked at that track already, and they actually did some work on the track to make it safer by changing some of the track layout. Obviously, they wouldn't be racing there if they didn't have the runoffs and all the safety procedures, safety measures that any FIA grade A track would have. So I don't think that's going to be a problem. I think it's going to be good. I just think, and what I think this is just is Formula One management, FOM, and the FIA testing different weekend formats in a way to better the racing. So at the beginning of before the season started, there was talk of them changing the format of the weekend.
Yes.
Right? And most notably, I think the suggestion was reverse grids.
Right, in a sprint race.
On a sprint race. So basically, the reverse grid is having a sprint race as basically qualifying, and whoever won that race, it would start in reverse order. So basically, the fastest cars will start at the back, and they can make their way up the field, which is always fun because we see a lot of overtaking, and you get some oddball results. The only reason that didn't go ahead was because Mercedes. Because they already know they have a front-running car, and Lewis Hamilton is going for a record 7 world championships to tie Michael Schumacher. Didn't want to leave it up to chance, basically, that you have a bad day or you get an accident moving up the field and stuff like that.
Not just Hamilton, but Mercedes as a team too.
As a team also, yeah. So, but this is a way to change up the format a little bit, where the teams get less data, which happened, I believe it was at COTA and at the U.S. Grand Prix. I don't remember if it was last season of the year, the season before, where there was one day, it was a practice session, it was on Friday, that got completely rained out because it was just raining like crazy. I'm pretty sure it was the year before when Kimi won, but don't quote me on that. They only had one day of practice, then they had qualifying, then they had the race. The teams had less data on tires, less data on how to set up the car. So with less data means that they can't properly prepare. So you add a different element. You add an element almost of surprise, so you can get these oddball results that we as fans love.
Same thing happened this year, right? In Hungary. I think it was the Saturday morning session.
Yes.
We ended up missing, and it was kind of an odd race as far as tire strategy went as well, and car setup.
Yeah, and that race at COTA was an awesome race. I think it was the year that Kimi won. That was an awesome race because there was a lot going on, obviously, behind Kimi. And then you had a sprint to the finish where I think one of the Mercs it was either one of the Mercs or it was Max Verstappen that was chasing down Kimi Räikkönen for the win. I don't remember who exactly it was, but
I think this is exciting for the young guns in Formula One because they've more recently raced there in the junior formulas. But we'll see. We'll see if this change actually means anything.
I think it's gonna make the racing better. But we'll see.
Okay. Moving on. Earlier today, there was a meeting between, and by meeting, it's almost like a court date. Yeah. Between Renault, Racing Point, and Mercedes, the teams, and the FIA to just kind of get to the bottom of this whole protest thing. And, is Racing Point really Racing Point? Is it illegal for them to copy what they did? So there was a meeting today at 11:30 UK time. Nothing has come of it. Ruben, do you think that there will be any changes or any penalties or anything coming out of this?
I don't know. If you spend 2.5 hours in a meeting and nothing comes out of it, come on, my man.
It's My Life in Corporate, the meeting that should have been an email.
Is that what it should have been settled weeks ago?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I hope nothing comes out of it. And, it's Racing Point cookies copying, because they've done well in the past doing that. So it's part of sport. Come on, get over it already.
Yeah, I think I don't think anything will come out of it because
we should wait till Friday.
Yeah, I don't think anything will come out of it because that brake duct in particular, or the Mercedes brake duct in particular, was a listed part that they can look at last season. So the argument is, all right, I already looked at this and it became illegal to look at it this year. and they modeled it after last year's Mercedes.
It was illegal to look at it, to buy it.
No, it was legal. It was legal to buy it.
Gotcha.
It was legal to
they
buy
bought
it.
it
It was
legally.
part of, they bought it
That's why
legally.
they're going to win.
So they've seen it already. So if they design it for this year's car, which is last year's car, are they really copying? No, they already seen it.
They already had it in their hands.
Yeah. Now the rumor is, but this is not gonna. There's a rumor where they have an employee
Yes.
that worked at Racing Point that now works for Renault that tipped Renault off,
Oh wow.
but nothing. That person will not be revealed unless it goes to appeal.
Well, how many people could it have been? Like how many?
Listen, I don't know, man. This is the circus that is F1, the drama. This is what makes F1 different from any other racing series, where you are all of this other politics and the appeals. There's no other racing series that has this.
No, wait. And he also goes to the point that it could go to a regular court, meaning like
Yeah. It's
What country would that court be in? I guess the UK.
UK.
I think they do it in Geneva or something. I don't know, man.
This goes back to what was it, 2007 with Alonso and oh my god, dropping the dime on McLaren.
Yeah.
What was it? 07 or
That was Spygate.
Oh, wait.
Yeah, Spygate, where
Spygate.
they had I think it was a Ferrari employee that was giving
Feeding them
information
information,
to McLaren or something like that. I don't know exactly.
we should make a movie.
You
about
can
it.
look.
It was like
There's a ton of videos on YouTube.
It was
But
that a Ferrari's employee's wife went to like a CompUSA here, like like a Kinko's to send all this stuff. Little she know the
to make
person,
copies. Yeah, that's
yes,
right.
the person
Yeah,
that
yeah,
was
yeah.
helping her at the Kinko's was a F1 fan,
Wow,
and that person blew the gasket. The investigation blew open. And
that was like the one person in the
That
US.
was a crazy thing.
what was the fine for that? No, that was.
They lost all their championship points the year, the constructors championship.
Yeah.
Just moving on a little bit more. There's some more minor news that came out. One of the things, Paul DeResta. I actually love his commentary. He does the practices for Sky Sports. I think he does a great job describing what a driver is feeling and like just as they go through each lap. Better than Brundle, because Brundle hasn't been a driver in I don't know how many years, but he's going to be the reserve driver for McLaren. And it's a weird thing.
Wait. Did you just throw Brundle under the bus?
No. I love Brundle. Don't.
How dare you talk?
He is one of
about
our biggest fans.
Martin
Yes, he
Brundle.
is.
Yes, he is. That he is. Yes.
So I just want to. It's a weird situation in the sense that these teams, McLaren, Racing Point, and Mercedes, they shared as reserve drivers in a year that has a global pandemic going on. They shared Esteban, Esteban Gutierrez, and Stoffel Van Dorn. Who Stoffel Van Dorn is now
in
Berlin for Formula E, and Gutierrez, he doesn't even have a super license. What the heck were they
Has
thinking?
not raced since like 2016.
Dude,
So essentially, you're
Put me in the
sharing
car.
one driver between three teams.
That can drive.
4 because the guy is doing Formula E
Formula
too. So Stoffel Van Dorn gets cut up into 4
Oh, that's right, because
because he's doing
for-
Formula E.
He's driving for the Mercedes-Benz
Listen,
Formula E team.
when you first mentioned this, I thought they did something like this, just to share the reserve driver for money reasons. We're having a short season where not, there's not a lot of money into play and stuff like that. That's why I thought they did it. But then you explained to me, Ruben, but if more than one driver catches COVID-19, we don't want that, but who's in the race for these guys? I mean, obviously, granted, we brought Hulk in, thank God, but
Racing Point, and who was it that
Racing
was-
Point, McLaren, and Mercedes.
Okay, Racing Point, McLaren, and Mercedes. If you guys are listening,
Which they are.
The reason that you have to get tested every other day and literally go through I don't know how many barriers just to get onto the track is because we're in the middle of 100-year pandemic. Well, it's not 100 years. I'm just saying 1 in 100-year pandemic. I'm sorry. So that means
I can't do this for 100 years, dude.
no, I know this is ridiculous. I'm tired of this already.
Social
but-
distancing.
But you're in the middle of an event that only happens 1 in 100 years, and it's because everybody's getting sick. And just like Checo Perez got sick and got infected, your drivers can get infected just as easily. Right? So why wouldn't you have reserve drivers ready on call with their super licenses? What that was the most baffling thing to me. How can one of your reserve drivers not have the required license to drive an F1 car? I don't get it. It's so stupid.
And they're not interested in doing it for Gutierrez either.
I mean, they can. How can he get it?
He has to.
I think his point.
The problem with Gutierrez not having a super license happened this year. There was a little thing that changed this year where the drivers required to run 300 kilometers.
Yeah.
No wonder they had to go get Nico Hülkenberg back,
exactly.
man.
It's not a year since he doesn't have a year out of the car.
No, you're right. I think they made it a little more stringent.
This year was when they made it a little stringent. And they haven't had time.
Yeah,
to
but
do anything.
they can change that too. We're in the middle of a pandemic.
Exactly. Hey, let's go back to last year rule on that because we're in a pandemic. Give this guy the license. Well, give the license? No.
I don't get it. But
Whatever. Yeah. Yhancy, you were telling us.
Imagine
earlier,
if Paul di Resta gets in one of those cars and gets a podium or something.
that would be amazing.
That's what we were
Don't
wishing.
love
That's
that.
what we were wishing for Nico Hülkenberg.
He can get in the Mercedes. If Bottas gets sick, right? He should be able.
But
yeah.
does he have a super license?
Who?
The rest.
Yeah, he does. He drove.
He drove
like
2 years ago.
Yeah. He drove for Williams when they were in that wonderful martini.
Yeah.
I think he drove in Hungary when they were in that when they had that wonderful martini livery
Yeah, Felipe Massa was
that made you fall in love with Williams, Ruben.
Yeah.
Felipe Massa was sick.
I think he got in Kimmy's way, and Kimmy, like in the car, and the team radio was like, "Tell this guy to go back to the announcing booth."
Kimmy's gold on radio, by the way.
Look, I've played a lot of the Formula One game. I'm ready to go if they want to call me up.
Yeah,
You
Working from home. Yeah.
I'd love to see you get a podium.
Can you imagine that?
Oh my God.
We'll be the first group in line.
Yeah. Tell me about Yhancy. Tell me, you were talking to us earlier today about an additional curb at Beckett's. I think that's where there was like a puff of dust that came up every time a car drove through it.
It was in the corner right after Beckett's. So usually, and I don't know why they took it off this season. Usually there's a curb on that Beckett's corner where drivers can lean onto it. So the curb is basically, if you're ever driving down a highway, you have the rumble strips that if you veer off, it's going to rumble. Now, F1 curbs are kind of like that, but some of them, depending on the corner that you're on, have a lean. So they're leaned in. So the way the drivers are able to use most of the track and know if they're getting off track and also turn the car into the next corner is basically what they call leaning on the curb. Whether if you're getting into that curb, it's almost like an oval where it has like a bit of a pitch. So you lean on that curb and you go into that next curb. Now, this season, and I noticed that last race, and after reading all about all of this stuff, I was seeing the drivers getting on the grass and just kicking up all this dirt, and it happened to many drivers.
It's happening during the race, happening in practice,
Yeah.
happening in quality,
So-
it happened all weekend.
So part of the reason that Pirelli said that a lot of these tires were just literally basically exploding and they had like these weird cuts was because the tires were getting on there and some debris was building up on there.
Oh.
So the debris would literally cut these tires weird. And I think Renault, Esteban Ocon said that when they expected the tires after they used them, they had more cuts than usual.
Gotcha.
So Pirelli figured out that was the case, that curb wasn't there. So what happens is when you can't lean on that curb, you go wider into the next turn, meaning if you go wider into the next turn, the wheel goes off the track. So now that they're going to add that curb, they can lean into it. So they're not going to, they can literally lean on that curb. So that curb can literally propel them into the next corner and none of the wheels are getting
And they don't
off
have to
track.
stretch out the.
Yeah. And, Silverstone is notoriously bad on tires because it's the G-forces that are on that car, especially when you're going through Maggots and Beckett's, where you have a crazy change of direction. It's like 5G. It's almost a little bit more than 5G.
Well, most of that track is flat out, right? So
Yeah.
you're gonna experience.
Yeah, so if you have that tire stuck to the ground and you have that kind of force pulling, hitting that tire,
And this
that
year's
tire
even
is gonna,
faster. And this year's even faster.
Yeah, I mean, these are probably the fastest cars, the fastest F1 cars ever, to be honest with you. So just, I mean, and that with the G forces and that happening at Maggots and Beckett's, that's really what caused most of those tire failures, and also that these guys pitted very early in the race
Yeah.
because of the safety car, so they were using these tires on the limit to the limit that they can get up to on a race.
I like how Yhancy explains these things super detailed and stuff like that. I like that because right away when I was watching the race on Sunday's room, I told you guys, hey, well, they're going off the track there. Why don't they just extend the curve a little bit and that's it? Like then we get no more dust. But Yhancy said, no, they have to do it now. He just finished saying they have to do it on the turn before, Ruben. So they're not going to need that extra space, and he makes sense.
Yeah. You know how I would like to be a reserve driver. When Paul DeResta gets called in, Yancey's going to fill in for Paul
Yes,
DeResta.
and play with the TV with a little joystick and all that.
What I'll do is you can be the reserve driver and I'll be your engineer.
Nice.
There you go.
All right. So the other piece of minor news before we get into the wrap up of last week's race and get into the race preview is Mattia Binotto, Ferrari team boss, is officially stepping down as technical director. Yhancy, that's your boy. Tell us about your boy. What does this mean?
What does he become now?
Mario.
Yeah.
What does he become now?
He's going to be the team boss.
Oh, okay.
Because usually that's the role. If you're the team boss, you run the team.
Listen, obviously I'm not a Ferrari fan, but he's been with Ferrari for a long time.
Yeah, I know. You're full of darkness. You're a hater. We get it.
Bro, he's been with Ferrari for a long time.
There was a picture posted today with,
with
him and Schumacher.
Yeah.
I was like, holy crap.
I couldn't even recognize him. That's him? Okay.
He started off as an engineer in the Ferrari organization in Maranello, and he's moved himself up the ranks to become the technical director under what was his name?
So he can be done.
Yeah, of course.
He climbed the ladder. It can be done.
Yeah. Maurizio, he was a technical under Maurizio Arrivabene. And then he became the team boss once they fired Arrivabene.
So the guy he replaced.
Yeah, so the guy he replaced. No, but what's different is that when he replaced him, he became the team boss, but he also stayed technical director.
Gotcha.
So obviously, with there's so many things going on in an organization as big as Ferrari, which spends more than $400 million a year on that program alone. They
definitely got that money back though between the heritage payment.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah. They get their money back. They definitely. There's no reason why they should be languishing in the midfield.
Yeah, by the way, honest with you, you're a Ferrari fan. Yes. Their location is beautiful.
I know. Okay. I've seen the pictures. I've seen you guys there. Envy. And I'll
because it's actually totally separate from the factory. By the way,
yes.
They're building. Okay.
Yeah, I know. I'm very
right.
Well
Wellington?
Yeah,
we're not including Yhancy.
I'm very much a groupie, a Tifosi groupie. Anyways, so it's a lot of when you have to handle the politics and you also have to handle the technical direction of the car. It's tough to juggle, especially when you have so much pressure from the media, and you have so much pressure, and you have to deal with the internal politics with the team. And you can see how that took a toll on Ferrari because literally their car is garbage this year.
Can you imagine how many emails he gets per day? Like having like a double role and being the team boss and all that.
I mean, he probably sends them all to spam.
Yeah. But it seems like, they had to literally create a new department for the stuff that he does because he's very important in that team as far as like that car in 2017 was all his. Listen, and so it was in 2018.
It shows the Ferrari's changing because they would have fired that dude a long time ago if it was a different Ferrari.
Mm-hmm. So they're trying to just, it looks like to me they're trying to change the culture there.
Nice.
Sorry, just cracked my knuckles there. Moving on to just kind of wrap up the race from this past Sunday. There was, even my dad was telling me that, he didn't like Vettel's performance, that there's something definitely wrong there, etc. The race put out a YouTube video where they actually got into some of the issues Actually, I hate to keep going on, but Yhancy, you were the one that sent that to our group, and it was actually a very interesting video, and I know you wanted to talk about it. So, what did you want to add here?
The tape was yours, yes.
The reason why
Number one Charles Leclerc apologist. Right
Exactly.
Here we go.
Go ahead, sir.
Well, I'm not. Am I wrong for lauding a person who took that truck of a car onto the podium twice already this season? Can't be wrong on that. Those are facts.
He was in the right place at the right time. Go ahead.
He was running fourth most of the race, and he qualified fourth.
Poor science.
Okay, so haters, darkness. So, the reason why Ferrari improved, I wouldn't say they had a good car, improved. They brought a very low drag package to Silverstone because they knew that their car is very draggy and their engine sucks.
Wow.
Low drag aerodynamically.
Yeah, low drag aerodynamically. So what happens when you have a low drag aerodynamic car is that the rear end is not planted. And I've mentioned this before on this podcast various times. Vettel loves a car and has been very successful by winning 4 world championships on a car that is planted on the rear end. Why? Because he literally whips the car around the corner, almost to the point of sliding, but he doesn't slide. He likes that stability on the rear end. When he doesn't have that confidence, you don't have the confidence in the car, so you don't feel like the car is ever going to behave the way you want it to, so you drive slower just for you not to spin out and do his spinderellas. Okay? So that's basically what happened. Vettel didn't have confidence in that car because it doesn't suit him. And again, as I've mentioned before on this podcast, Leclerc's driving style is very different, very similar to Max Verstappen and Lewis Hamilton, where they can take a car and whip it around the track and hustle it around the track, and it doesn't necessarily have to suit them in particular. And that's basically what happened. It's just a combination of a low drag aerodynamic car and superb driving by Charles
But if you're
Leclerc.
Ferrari and you know that you're one of your seasoned guy, or the guy that has 4 world championships, cannot get on the car that way, why would you do that? Because it's out?
What happened? I'm sorry, what was the question?
If you're Ferrari
Yeah.
and you know your more experienced guy has a problem driving a car like that, why would you build it? Why would you do it to him?
Because he's not going to be there next year.
Gotcha. Okay.
And I don't think that they built that car to make Vettel uncomfortable. I think they just built a bad car.
Okay.
And Leclerc's driving style suits it more because Leclerc can adapt. Just the same way when Leclerc came in his first year at Sauber, he struggled for the first, I think, 9 races until he got to Baku. And then he found an adjustment where he can drive it. And he got into the points for the first time at Baku. And he's been doing that ever since he's been in F1.
Beyond that, I think Vettel finished, 6th in Hungary? I want to say.
Yes.
Something in that area.
Mm-hmm.
You see him struggle here. I think that what you're saying is very accurate in the sense that Hungary, you want a very strong amount of drag and downforce for your car so you can make the turns the way you need to make them because it's such a technical track in Hungary, tight turns, etc. In Silverstone, where you need to hit the tracks at higher speed or hit the turns at higher speed, you do want, because it's such a power track, you do want less downforce, holding back the downforce and drag, holding back the car. And that it suits this style of driving more. So we'll see. Vettel had a lot of problems with the car in general. The pedals, the intercooler, all kinds of stuff. We'll see this week if there is merit to what the race said, what we're talking about here now, if he could do a little bit of a better job with the car this time around, because it'll be the same setup.
Yeah, the only thing that's going to change really it's going to be the tires.
Yeah.
The beauty of having 2 races at the same track, man. We can compare, contrast. I don't think it's going to be the same style race. It'll be great, but we'll get to that later.
So I agree. We should have 40 races a year to double up on every track. I think I'd be okay with that.
Why not?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
No, that'll be boring.
So moving on from there was we saw the situation with Mercedes and the tires and Carlos Sainz with his tire. They released this video every week. It's called a race debrief from them, and it's on their official Mercedes AMG F1 YouTube channel. It is awesome. It has James Vowles, one of their I think their team strategic principal, I think is his official title or something like that. He goes through all the strategy that they thought about and what they executed in the race and throughout the week. Ruben, you watched the video. Do you how do I phrase my question? Did you take anything away from the way that they managed their tires, their drivers, or the weekend? I just want to remind you of what he talked about. He said that Lewis Hamilton, he actually had a ton of speed on the blown up tire, even after it was blown up. And we saw that he was still going 230 kilometers per hour on the messed up tire in what was it? My straight, the Wellington straight, I think. He also said something that Yhancy mentioned. He wanted to make
Wellington proud.
Of course. He also mentioned something Yhancy said earlier, which is that what kind of forced a lot of the problems was the safety car forced an early pit stop. So the hard tires had to be stretched out much longer. Is there anything else that you took away from this video?
Of course.
What do you got?
Can we get this guy he needs to take the classes that I'm hoping to take to have more personality or something. This guy is boring, dude. Okay, what does this guy do for Mercedes? Is he like an engineer or something?
I think he's the team strategy director.
Something down the road that's not to be in front of a camera. Because this guy, I watched the video last night, put me to sleep. I watched the video this morning, and I'm still trying to find out what the hell this guy was talking about in this video. Because
he's the chief strategist. I'm sorry.
Okay, look at that. This guy just says, "Listen, turn this turn, and we need this much grip here." That's what I don't know. Nothing else that he said made sense.
Is this is the same guy that comes on the radio with Valtteri? It's James.
I think at that point, it was James Allison, the actual.
Okay. No, it was James Vowles. Was James Vowles?
I thought it was James. Well,
whatever.
It's
too many. Too many James. Yeah. Too many James to figure it out. Well, he was doing 140 on that straight on a flat tire. That's crazy.
He was doing 143 miles an hour. Yeah.
Ridiculous.
It's a little slower than what I would have gone, but it's okay for the world champion.
For something that we don't see all the time. Obviously, this guy did it on the last lap and still was, you could say, kind of flying compared to what you do regular cars in the street.
Kind of 140 miles per hour, dude.
I mean, I've done close to that with Anthony, but that's not one of our friends. But yeah, this guy was still on 3 tires on a racetrack, on a freaking car that is out of the world. I mean, to me, this just took Hamilton's stock even further up on GOAT status to me.
If you see the radio of
yes,
him,
that was awesome.
Where on the exchange that they had, is like the engineer is telling him, I think it was Bono, his engineer.
20 minutes, 20 seconds.
Well, 19. That was crazy, but even after they crossed the line, they told him to stop. They told him to stop. He's like, stop the car, we'll come and get you.
Oh, I think I can make it.
No, I think I can make it. We're good.
I could just lock it.
My man is, yeah. Well, that's crazy because they have these protocols. What they do when something like that happens, they lock the differential so the wheel wouldn't spin as much. It's basically spinning on the bearings.
And all of this is done through the steering wheel.
Yeah, all of that is done through the steering wheel, and it shows you how hard the walls of the tire is, that it can withstand that. Even if it's completely delaminated, the walls of the tire can actually keep the car up.
Well,
but for him to do that and win the race, I mean, the race was boring, but that is gonna go down as one of the most epic moments ever in F1 history.
It's almost like he is. I'm in construction, so the saying is that you're a good operator if you could pick up like a spoon with the bucket of of an excavator.
Yeah.
That's the type of thing that Lewis Hamilton just did, where you see Valtteri Bottas, it looked like his tire was much more damaged.
Yes.
Granted, he went around the whole track. And then you also look at Carlos Sainz, his tire fully delaminated and was doing
shredded
damage to the floor.
Yeah.
So you see what Lewis Hamilton was able to do going that fast to finish the race.
Wait. You don't know this is the second time Lewis does this, by the way.
Is it
He's done it
really?
before.
He did it in junior classes, right?
Yes. But he had it was like a spring that broke. And that tire didn't, it was not blown, but it was kind of lifted up.
So it wasn't the same thing.
It was the same thing. He was dragging a
Okay,
tire.
now you're just being a fan. Yeah, now you're
But
just
this is the
being
second
what
time
I
that he
am
wins
with Leclerc, bro.
No, but this is the second time he wins a race on 3 wheels.
I would just.
The first time, obviously, in Formula 1, and then he did it in Formula Renault.
I think. Listen,
in 03, he did
it's
that.
epic, and I don't want to take anything away from him.
Oh, hell no.
It's epic, but there's some level of luck that he just does it like halfway. It was like halfway around the last lap, so he didn't have to go as far as like maybe Bottas had to. Because Bottas had to pit actually, and yeah, man, it's like again. It just made that race memorable because honestly, the rest of the race wasn't memorable at all.
I like what I think
crazy.
Horner told Max on the radio. He's a lucky boy.
Yeah.
No, yeah. And then I think the other option that Lewis did actually have was to finish in the pit lane. So he could have actually cut all those corners and go into the pit because the start finish line actually extends into the pit. So he could actually finish that race in the pit, but what made it epic is that he actually went around and finished it. I don't know if he even thought about going into the pit, but he had that option.
I think that is mentioned in the video, and I think that what James had said in the video is that what Red Bull had given Max was an option to do not an option, but just do opposite of whatever Ham does. If Ham pitted, that doesn't make sense because it's the last lap. If Ham pitted, stayed out. But maybe I'm thinking about Bottas style, but I don't know. It was insane. I gotta watch that video, and I'll put the link in the show notes.
Listen, that video, even to look at the video with the radio and stuff like that, is dope.
10 seconds.
But man, even Leclerc was like, he had a flat tire and he still finished. Jeez, like
that was insane. That was so crazy.
Like, wow. Okay.
I think that's what it was. Just like so many things happened. My mind was like jumbled up after that race because it's just so many things happened in those last 3 laps with Bottas tires going, and then the graphic that show up that it was Lewis Hamilton and it was really Bottas. That confused me even more. And then right after that, Lewis tires blows. And then I think right before that, it was signs. It was like tires. It was like that 2017 race where the Ferrari's tires all blew up. It was crazy.
Yeah,
it was fun though.
So I want to confirm.
I mean, it made it fun.
I want to confirm that this is James Vowles.
It is James.
Yes, I was looking that up. I apologize. So, another piece of news coming out of this week: the Racing Point. They still can't seem to figure out what went wrong with the car. So,
They still can't figure it out?
They still can't figure it out.
A couple
of days trying to dig it out.
I think I could tell you what happened is
Stroll sucks.
So what the problem is with Stroll is you've heard him say it in Williams and you've heard him say it with Racing Point.
Well, I thought you were talking about Nico's car. You're talking about Stroll's car?
I'm talking about the car in general, the pace on the car.
Well, Stroll sucks.
So it's that, but more to the fact that he is not good with being able to communicate what is wrong with the car. You've heard him come over the radio saying, nothing is working, or like something to that effect. Oh, I can't get anything to go.
He can't communicate in regular interviews, period.
And the thing he was communicating with his engineer about when he was getting passed, like something, he got no pace. So they got to just press the button.
Yeah. but that's the thing. I think that Sergio Perez does a lot of work as far as the testing and the setup of the car that they didn't have this week.
To hold the package.
Killed them. Yeah. I think that really killed them.
That's probably why they couldn't get the car started.
Well, I don't know about that.
I'm joking. I don't know about that. But I don't know. But I thought when you were asking that question, I thought it was because the problem with how they couldn't get the Nico Hülkenberg's car started or Sergio Perez's car started. But if you're talking about why they were slow, the reason why they were slow, the car wasn't slow is because they had a bad driver in the seat.
Bad driver. Friday and Saturday are as important to a race as the actual race in terms of the practice, not even qualifying, just to set up the car
I can't believe
properly.
they keep it.
The only thing that Stroll can be commended for is having a good start. He's very
for
good.
having a rich dad.
Well, I mean, besides the point, I don't even want to get into that. But what I'm just saying, as far as his driving style, he starts off well. He overtakes a lot of good cars. A lot of the cars, historically, that's what he does. But once he's in a race and he has to overtake and do what a really good racing driver does, he does everything bad. He's horrible. He's not a good driver.
He's not.
Then lastly, just to kind of wrap up the previous race, Red Bull chief engineer Paul Monahan, he admits the team needs to provide Alex Albon a better car. This is something we talked about the last episode. It's almost evident. It's not just the better car, but also just a better experience overall. We've heard him say that, you know, he was released into traffic when he begged not to be released into traffic. It's just all kinds of stuff. And I feel like to get a guy like him situated, he needs to have the team, you know, supporting him.
Yeah, but it's Red Bull style. Red Bull, they're very focused on bringing up young drivers, and they just throw them into the fire and see what works.
Yeah, but it worked with Sebastian Vettel and Max Verstappen.
Yeah, but those are different
and Daniel
talents.
Ricciardo.
Yeah, but you can't. You're talking about they're hoping that they get a once in a lifetime talent.
3-time in a lifetime talent.
Well, they got him, but they still need another car to finish. You know, and it's like you said. I think you mentioned this earlier. That is the consequence of having such a tough. I mean, yes, you have to have a tough driver program, but at the end of the day, you still have to develop drivers that don't necessarily all have to be number one. You have to develop solid drivers, and you got to give them a chance. You know, Gasly's a solid driver. Maybe he's not the same talent as Vettel or Max Verstappen, but he can be a solid driver, a solid number two, like a Bottas is. You know, and you have also, you know, I don't know if Sergio Perez could be a good number one. He's never had the opportunity, but he's definitely a good number two driver. So there is a place in F1 for solid drivers. You don't necessarily have to be world championship material, but you can develop a driver to be a solid driver.
That's tough to do because I think every driver that's in F1 wants to be a champion.
Yeah, absolutely. But that's what. And I'm not saying that Valtteri Bottas doesn't want to be a champion,
okay.
but he's a solid driver. And you've had plenty of drivers go through that program that are pretty solid drivers. You've had John-Eric Vergne from Formula E, 2-time world champion in Formula E, solid driver. You have Sebastian Buemi, who drove with Fernando Alonso, and he's a WEC champion, a world endurance champion. You have Antonio Felix Decosta. He drives in Formula E. He's actually leading the Formula E championship right now. There's been a lot of solid drivers that Red Bull just drops for no apparent reason. You gotta have a solid driver in the car, and then they want to put all young drivers in those cars, and they never want to get an experienced driver. They're gonna have to be, if they don't give Alex Albon a chance to develop, then you're just gonna have to get somebody else from the outside because their young driver program is literally depleted at this point.
Yeah.
Okay. That about wraps up last week's Grand Prix, the British Grand Prix. This week, British Grand Prix last week. This week's Grand Prix, the 70th anniversary Grand Prix. Same track, same cars, same drivers. Only thing that's different is the tire allocation. We're going one step softer. So what that means to us is last week's softs are this week's medium. They're introducing an even softer tire as the new soft, and the mediums from last week are going to become the hards. Do we see a team do a 3-stop?
No.
A 3-stop?
Yeah.
No. I think the only people that can actually pull that off would probably be Mercedes.
Well, think about it. If the medium from last week is this week's hard, that means you will have one stint that won't even last 30 laps.
Yeah.
And then the soft, and
it's going to be hotter.
And it's going to be a disaster, and I cannot wait to watch it.
It's going to be
a destruction derby.
But that's why they changed the tires. Thank God they did that, because then we would have another snooze fest of a race. The only thing that saved the last race was the tire blows at the end. But I think this race will probably be a little bit more interesting. But a 3,
hope
I
so.
mean, Mercedes is definitely not going to do a 3-stop because they're just going to be so far ahead. They only need 2 stops. Because they can't. I don't think they can pull off a 1-stop just because the tires are not hard enough.
I guess this depends also on safety cars and stuff like that to see what ends up happening.
Yeah, but if you get a safety car, then you're probably gonna have multiple stops anyways. Maybe you look at the midfield, and if they're closely matched, maybe you can do that.
What I don't think is going to happen, I don't think this upcoming week, they're not going to extend those tires that long like that.
No,
Like,
definitely
They
not.
will not even take the chance.
But the only reason that they did it was because they had an early safety car.
Yeah. Nobody was pitting.
The
Nobody
last
was taking a chance. Just be like, hey, everybody's doing it. Let's rule it out.
The safety car was what, lap 12? And that's when they capped the mediums. And the mediums are now the hards.
Exactly.
So
No, I mean, I think it'll be it's gonna be a 2-stop race. That's gonna be the optimal strategy.
He has to win.
Mercedes is gonna win the race.
Why? Yes.
Huh?
Why?
Because
Come on.
there's no car that can even come close to them.
Leclerc got a podium.
But
he can't
that's
come
still
close
not.
to him, dude.
That's still not winning unless there's an accident between Bottas and Hamilton.
That won't happen.
Doubt it.
Bottas is not that type. He's not the Nico Rosberg type.
Yeah.
So
Unless
let's
there's
do
that.
predictions. Ruben, what do you think is going to happen this week?
Mercedes 1-2. Ham, Bottas. I'll go with Max because last week I said Perez and COVID-19 killed him. I mean, took him out. Sorry.
Damn, bro.
I'm sorry.
Jesus.
Yeah, it was that.
Talk about misinformation.
That was very insensitive to say it that way.
Yeah.
Yes, what do you got as far as predictions?
I'm going bold here, man. Going bold.
What do you got?
Verstappen wins the race.
Ooh, impossible.
No, I don't know about impossible, but
Verstappen wins the race.
I think when you're talking about
I don't
tire
think-
strategy, Red
Yeah.
Bull is the team to bank on.
Yeah.
They can make a good call.
They can make a good call. Something odd happens. I think you're probably gonna have some problems with some issues with the tires still because it's
definitely,
Silverstone and it's gonna be hotter. I'm
so
going
the issues are going to start first with the Haas,
yeah.
and then it's going to trickle down. So
I'm gonna say Verstappen wins the race, Hamilton second, Bottas third.
So we all have the same top 3. I think it's going to be Ham first, Max second, and Bottas third.
Yeah, I'm hoping I'm pinning my prediction on something happening with the tires and Red Bull doing what they do best and
So since we have
make a bold strategy.
since we have the
call.
same top 3 guys, can we choose now each one, choose the best of the rest? You know, who think is going to be best at the midfield? Just out of the blue, not preparing us for the question, just throw it out there to see.
I'm going to go Lando.
You think Lando? What do you think?
Triple L.
Last lap
Last
Lando.
lap Lando.
Last lap Lando.
Nah. I just wanted to say Triple L. I think it'll be Carlos Sainz.
Carlos Sainz?
Yeah.
Okay. I think Ricardo would do it.
Really?
Ooh, they were good.
And they're bringing another, like they're making more changes for this weekend.
They were.
What are they
good.
doing?
They are bringing the technical director was saying that they're bringing more stuff to work on power, especially the straight line power and stuff like that. So
That would be so. Okay, Renault gets it, but does McLaren get it as well? Same time?
I don't know. He didn't say it. They were just talking about how I
There
saw-
are a lot of teams bringing upgrades this weekend.
so
There were a lot of teams. They were due for upgrades
Last week.
last weekend, but a lot of teams. There's some teams that made them. Red Bull made a whole bunch of changes, but
Who
a
did
lot. Please, actually, they are one of
They
the
did?
teams that are going to bring. That they said they were going to bring something, and they didn't. I think the only thing that they.
Because
They-
now you get a perfect.
The only
chance
thing
to
that they
do 1-2
brought, the
testing.
only update that Williams brought was for the first race was like a change in the mirrors or something. It's like it's more curved or something. But maybe they bring something this week. But there are a lot of teams bringing more updates this weekend. And remember, a lot of those teams are home because most of those teams have factories near Silverstone.
I just hope Hulk gets his own
So-
like racing suit, his own shoes. Like that'd be nice. For
I
him.
want to
think that's what cursed
see.
him. Because he had Lance Stroll shoes.
I
Probably
wanna
he got
see-
like hand-me-downs.
Yeah.
Oh,
I hope-
I did a shoey on those last week, an imaginary shoey.
Oh.
I hope that Hulkenberg brings back a pink version of his iconic burst helmet where he has like the sun going out. Like, remember his helmet before?
He's always had.
He's
crazy
always had
helmets.
good helmets.
Yeah, but he's
probably
always had like that
he's-
burst coming.
He's probably
out.
had like I would say one of the best designs helmets.
Yes. I hope he brings back a pink version of that.
One last
That'd be
thing,
cool.
just real quick. Something we were talking about before the show. Whatever. It's a rumor. Actually, I do believe it, but it's still a rumor. It's not confirmed. But supposedly, the Sebastian Vettel, this is something I think Buxton kind of lit a fire to, but Will Buxton. But the Sebastian Vettel Aston Martin deal is already sealed. Like that, it's done. They were going to announce it, and then Sergio Perez got coronavirus. So him not being with the team, they didn't want to kind of do him like that.
Yeah, I mean, that would be talk about worst week ever. Right?
You're out of a job.
You're out.
That happened to most of us.
Yeah.
Lost our job to
we
the
didn't get
coronavirus.
COVID, but we didn't get COVID. I mean, imagine being told. Well, imagine waiting a day saying that your test was inconclusive. Then the next day saying, okay, you got COVID.
Most of us had to wait like a week
And then
for the test.
I did. I waited 10 days. Incredible. But that's for another podcast. And then being told, yeah, dude, you're fired.
We don't want you anymore.
You're fired, bro.
But
Jesus.
didn't they have?
But they're not
like-
gonna do Paris like
I know,
that.
but they're not. Obviously, they're gonna release him. But didn't they have until like last week to do something with his contract?
But that's what I'm saying. They probably already did it, and
Make
because
their
of the
decisions.
coronavirus
Yeah.
thing,
And that elbow bump. Did you see the video of?
that's what's fueling the fire here.
That elbow bump has some oomph in it, man.
I think it's a done deal.
Yeah.
It's just like they're just waiting for the right timing to bring it out.
We shall see.
Vettel, and then the way Vettel's driving, he's driving. It reminds me of. I mean, I didn't see those seasons, but a lot of people talk about how Vettel drove his last season for Red Bull, like he drove uninspired. He's driving that way now. He doesn't seem like he's very comfortable with Ferrari right now because he knows he's on his way out.
No,
But he knows he's on his way out, but he still wants to compete. And that was very evident in his interview with Martin Brundle.
Mhm.
He definitely still wants to compete. And Racing Point as a team is on the way up. I think that's going to happen.
Aston Martin should be a good fit for him, and it goes both ways. He should be a good fit for Aston Martin, and
You think
They
he'll
need-
take him? You think there'll be a perennial podium contender if he's there?
if
I wanted you to say perennial podium possibility, but just for the triple P. But I don't.
what does perennial mean?
Perennial
Like, just
means that
constantly
you're
there.
constantly.
I think he'll bring
competing
a level of professionalism, the same level of professionalism that Checo Perez brings to the team.
Yes.
It just really kind of depends on how strong that car is. That's the best way I could say it. And then the rest of the field too, because McLaren is going to be much better next year too.
Yes. I think depending on the wave that they'll leave this year with. So if Racing Point leaves on a high note, winning all these protests and all that other stuff, next year they'll be even better. But if they have to make a bunch of adjustments because of things that they got ruled out against them this year, then they're gonna have pretty much the same thing going back to the drawing
Yeah,
board.
that makes sense, bro. Yeah, because then they're gonna have to focus their time on cleaning up all the mess that's made in this season
We gotta remember that
instead of focusing on progressing.
we gotta remember the Force India for a lot of years, they were constantly battling in the midfield. They were not in the back of the pack. Meanwhile, they had one of the lowest budgets.
Right. They were like 5-4.
Now that they have money, they're showing what they could do with the money.
Yeah,
So I think
and
Pro-
that team has not changed. The same.
no,
channel.
I think the protests and all the other stuff is kind of shadowing that their legacy that they've been bringing for so many years.
Yeah, but also this could turn into, and I don't think it is, but the last time we had an uproar like this was with Haas and Ferrari,
Yes.
and then
17 was?
18.
no, it was 18.
Actually, I think 19.
It was it was 18. It wasn't last year. It was 18. And obviously that car didn't prove to be not competitive. This car, yeah, showing shades of being competitive, but it still doesn't have the results yet. So I mean, you have fourth place result in Hungary for Stroll, and that's about it.
All right. That about wraps it up for us today. We have a race coming up, obviously. Friday's the 2 practices. Free practice 3 Saturday morning. Then 9 a.m. here Eastern time is qualifying in the race. 9 a.m. on Sunday. Make sure to check us out on Instagram at Jump to Start Racing, www.jumptostartracing.com, at JTSR Podcast, and we are on YouTube. We're on all podcast platforms, pretty much: Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, iHeart, etc. Everywhere. Ruben, any last words?
This weekend should be exciting. Let's see.
Doesn't sound like it.
Well, I don't sound like it. No, I mean, can't wait for the weekend already to get moving. I mean, let's see. I want Hulk to do good. How about you?
I think Hulk is gonna do well, but my last words are, because today I received, because I'm not a hater, and I saw Max with his hat on, so I had to buy it. So I think Max will win the race because I have the hat. Gotcha. I'm that superstitious. So let's go, Max, because I know Ferrari is not going to go nowhere.
And that hat is fire.
Hat is dope. It's fire.
All right, team. On that note, we will catch you after the race. Peace out.
Peace.
Thank you.